So I know you probably can't tell, but I have no prep. Okay, there's no script. We just turn on the camera and we go. That's what we do. That's the way it works. And sometimes it's wonderful, but I'm not going to lie. A lot of the times it's not. So let's jump in for another day. Hello, I'm Jeremy. This is the Classic Guitar Rock Daily Update. So glad you joined me. Welcome to my neighborhood. And I'm a little bummed today. My Washington Huskies did not prevail. They were smacked down by the Michigan Wolverines. So I'm a little sad, but hey, great season. Good job to Michigan. Good job to the Huskies, who just couldn't quite pull it out in the end. But in the words of Chief Dan George, we will endeavor to persevere. There's always next year, right? So let's hop into the headlines in the This Is Stupid file today. We hear from one of the members of KISS that we never hear from, the much maligned, but actually a really cool guy, Tommy Thayer. He's been playing the spaceman character for the last 20-something years, longer than Ace actually was the spaceman. But that's a bone of contention. Ace sold for a pittance his rights to the spaceman character, as did Peter Criss. That is why we have a spaceman and a cat in KISS, because those guys sold their rights to those characters that they created to Gene and Paul, probably for about $20. I don't know the details. I digress. But Tommy is commenting on the whole Avatar thing. Quote, "It's been interesting doing the avatars so far. It'll take some time to get the imagery where we want it to be," Tommy said. "I haven't really thought about what it all means in the big picture, but with technology evolving as quickly as it is, there's no doubt that this is the direction a lot of entertainment is going." But is it really, though? Do we really want to watch cartoons of our favorite artists? I say, and again, I'm standing my ground. Now, these avatars won't even be launched till 27. Okay, I am put it in writing, put it on record, record this right now. January 9th, 2024, Jeremy said the avatars will never happen. Not going to happen. Because they're stupid. No one cares. And they aren't even going to come out till 2027. And by then, any remaining KISS goodwill will have dwindled. I think it's a misguided thing. So the KISS avatars were created by Industrial Light and Magic, ILM. Now, if you know about Industrial Light and Magic, that was created when the first Star Wars, and when I say the first Star Wars, I mean the good Star Wars that came out in 1977, the first one, right? Before it became a franchise of crap, right? Industrial Light and Magic was the end result of George Lucas's group of special effects creators that made the first Star Wars, and they literally made it from nothing. And that was a groundbreaking movie. Those of you that are too young to remember, Star Wars, the first Star Wars in 1977, it looked like no other space movie or science fiction movie that had come out before, because the special effects for the time were really good. And they invented all that stuff, right? You know how they made all the ships? They made all the ships from old, they'd go to the store and buy old models, not old models. They'd buy new. Remember back in the day in the 70s, we bought model kits of cars, of tanks, of airplanes, and you'd get this stinky glue, and you'd kind of get a buzz when you were building your models from the tester's glue, right? And you'd make these. Well, these guys used various model parts to shoehorn together these cool looking spaceships and stuff. I mean, it was amazing. Now it's a full-blown industry on its own, and companies pay ILM millions of dollars to come make their movies for them. Well, ILM is responsible for these avatars. They did avatars for ABBA, and ABBA's avatars were just recreating a 70s era show. Not Kiss. No, they're not going to recreate a show. They're making them like 8-foot tall superheroes flying over volcanoes and shooting lightning out of their fingers. It's going to be awesome if you're 11 years old in 2027. So anyways, the Kiss avatars are never going to happen because no one cares. And plus, I mean, if they launched right now today, there might be some people, but no one cares. Okay. They aren't going to happen. Ain't going to happen. Sorry. I don't mean to be negative, right? But I just don't think they're going to happen. Okay. Hi, Michelle, checking in. Michelle is checking in on X. You can do the same if you're on X, Facebook, YouTube. What's next? Let's move on. I don't want to be grumpy. So let's move on. This is good news. British heavy metal legends Judas Priest have released the official music video for Panic Attack. This single was already released a while ago, but now they've got an official video, and that just launched today. You can find that on YouTube. So far, they've released Panic Attack and Trial by Fire. And there was a video for Trial by Fire already released. And Trial by Fire, apparently, every metal band has to make a video where they're standing out in the middle of the forest, because that's what the Trial by Fire video. And I think there's a KK's Priest. Right now, Judas Priest and KK's Priest are dueling to see who's the priestiest, right? Who can play fast? Who can drum faster? Who can scream higher? And I mean that as a good thing, right? So Judas Priest, KK's Priest, I'm going to say it. Songs are kind of interchangeable, right? You just change the heads on Ripper and Rob, you wouldn't notice the difference. Just saying. And I'm not saying it's bad, but is it really good? I don't know. I got to tell you, I'm always excited when I see a Judas Priest video. And this video released today is obviously the audio is from the album track, but the video footage is all from the big metal Woodstock Power Fest thing that happened back in California. When was that? October? Whenever that was. That thing out in the desert where Metallica was there and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. And Judas Priest, from all accounts, put on a great show. Well, this is footage from that. And they look very, very priesty. Wow! Just like KK's Priest. Wow! Check it out. Speaking of molten metal madness, Hellfire and Chaos, the best of British rock and metal. What is that? That's the name of a tour coming your way in 2024. It's a tour featuring Saxon, which features the lead singer with one of the best rock and roll names ever, Biff Byford, leading Saxon, and Biff's like 94, and then Uriah Heep. So, I mean, let me say this. I haven't listened to as much of the new Saxon. I love Wheels of Steel. I love the Strong Arm of the Law, Long Arm of the Law, Strong Arm of the Law. I think it's Denim and Leather. That's the album. I don't remember. They have about 3 or 4 albums from the early 80s that are really good. And I've seen them live like 5 times. They were a busy band, still a busy band. One of the hardest working bands in show business, second only to Cheap Trick, maybe, in terms of sheer guts and still out touring and hitting the road. Well, they've teamed up with Uriah Heep. Now, here's what I was going to say. Sorry, I didn't take my medication yet today, so I'm kind of all over the place. Uriah Heep's last few albums are really good, really good. And, you know, they've got the great organ, the B3 sound going on. Mick Box, a totally underrated guitar player. Their singer, he's like their 4th or 5th singer. He's really good. Don't know the guy's name. I think Mick Box is the only original guy in there, but their recent albums are really good. So you should check out what Uriah Heep has done over the last few years. And I actually took the time to watch some live footage of them from the last few years. They sound great. They sound great. And the live Saxon stuff I've seen, and it's probably 4 or 5 years old that I've seen. It sounds really good. And it's not, they still sound like classic 80s metal. The guitar sound, it's not over processed cheese whiz Queensryche sounded stuff. It sounds like Marshall Stacks and Les Pauls, like Thin Lizzy, right? I like that sound. That's not a swipe. Well, it kind of a swipe at Queensryche, but and I like Queensryche, but I like the pure new wave of British heavy metal sound of Saxon, and they still have that, which is kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. I like 1982. Yeah. I think the music sounded better in 1982 than it does now on balance. I'm feisty today. I don't know what that is. The Eagles were joined by one of their longtime collaborators, J.D. Souther, at 2 of their recent concerts in Los Angeles. J.D. Souther, I think, also is approaching 100, and he's up there on stage with the Eagles. Now, J.D. Souther helped them write a lot of their big hits: Best of My Love, New Kid in Town, Heartache Tonight. He had a hit, I think, in around 1980. But you're only lonely, but you're only lonely. Very kind of a Roy Orbison sound. He's a great songwriter. He's helped write songs for Bonnie Raitt, Linda Ronstadt, Christopher Cross, so James Taylor. So he's a songwriter mostly, but he got up on stage with the Eagles. He said he was never officially part of the band, but he said, I always felt like I was part of the band for a day, right? They'd bring him in and he'd do that. And he liked it that way. And to be honest, had he become an official member, Henley and Fry probably would have screwed him out of all of his money anyway. So it's probably worked out for the best that he didn't. So if you've got $800 to spare, you could check out an Eagles concert, and maybe J.D. Souther will be up on the stage. That would be cool. Okay, so for music nerds, there's a show that happens every year called the NAMM show. NAMM show. It's the National Association of Music Marketers. Something. It's a music industry. When I say music, I mean musical instruments, musical technology, not artists, but the companies that make musical equipment. Okay. They get together every year. This year it's in Anaheim, and it's a big deal. So that's where you go to see all the new gadgets and gizmos and guitars and kazoos and anything else you want to buy. You go to this thing and you see it. And it's kind of cool because a lot of old grizzled guitar players get hired to sit in the booth at NAMM and play riffs all day. And sometimes they're grumpy and pissy. And those videos are fun to watch, to see some bitter old Jakey Lee or someone who's getting paid $100 a day to sit in a cubicle and play licks all day. I'm picking on Jakey Lee. I don't know if he's ever been there, but he's the first guy I thought of. But NAMM is it looks kind of cool. I'd like to go to NAMM. They have concerts, you see again some B-level guy put on a concert, and that's kind of cool. And it's jamming, and you get to check out all the wares. And it's kind of cool. So NAMM is coming up. And why am I bringing this up? NAMM CEO John T. Malinchak, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, John. Sorry. John T. Malinchak has explained why he is optimistic about growing numbers of budding musicians and the demand for music products across the globe. Now, he says this in spite of the fact that there have been large decreases in musical instrument imports to the UK. So they aren't buying as many things from they just cite UK as an example. Also, the rise in AI is causing concern for the future security of music. We talked this technology thing, whether it's AI, avatars, whatever, it's uncertain, right? The whole platform of how people consume music is completely different. It's completely different. Um, but yet he's optimistic. Of course, he's also trying to sell music equipment too. So you got to, take it with a grain of salt, but he's very optimistic. And let me say this, as a guitar hack myself, a hobbyist, I play in a dad band, right? We are the Inland Northwest premier male pattern baldness classic rock band. So if you're ever in the area, you'll have to check us out. As someone who dips his toes in the water of music, I appreciate the technology. I mean, I can remember as a kid working 2 full weeks at McDonald's after school and then blowing my whole paycheck on one little Boss guitar pedal. Okay, that's how much they were. You'd buy a chorus pedal for $180. Now that technology you can buy on Amazon, you can buy pedals that do the same thing for $18, right? So the technology is, in a lot of ways, it's good, but the way the landscape has shifted, it's not so good. And it will be interesting to see how it plays out. My job here is to keep waving the flag for the great guitar-driven rock of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I will continue to do that until they pry it from my cold, dead hands, right? So that's my job, but it's also interesting to watch the shifting landscape of technology, of music, to see what happens. What's awesome about the current platform or the current landscape is that anyone who wants to can put out music. Anyone who wants to make an album can make an album and put it out on the platforms and make it available. The bad thing about the current landscape is anyone who wants to can make an album and put it out on the platforms. My point is that in many ways, the barriers to entry are gone. So anyone can make an album. There aren't gatekeepers like record companies. But at the same time, there's a lot of crap that gets pushed out there, and there's more crap you have to sift through. But I mean, we've seen on the pop side, right? Justin Bieber, right? Justin Bieber. I'm not a fan, but undeniable, very successful artist. He launched his own career on YouTube, right? Billie Eilish and her brother produced a platinum album in their bedroom. Okay. You couldn't have done that back in the 70s. Number one, the equipment would have cost as much as a house or more, but they were able to, with modern equipment that is available and affordable, create a platinum album in their bedroom. That's pretty cool. So where am I going with this? My point is, it's a brave new world for all that means. Okay. And John T. Malinchak is optimistic about it. We'll wait and see. But it is a great time to learn music. You could go, if you, and I'll take guitar as an example. If you want to learn to play guitar, if you have a child that's a budding musician or a grandchild that wants to learn this is a wonderful time to do that. You can buy good quality playable guitars for like under $200. They didn't have those when I was coming up. You can go on YouTube and learn to play any song you want, note for note. Someone will show you how to play every single song. That's why you see these videos of 10-year-old kids from Japan who play Randy Rhoads solos perfect, lick for lick. That didn't exist when I was a kid, but now it's available. So if you want to become a musician, now's the perfect time to do it. And I've seen articles. Sorry, now I'm just going on a rant here. Not a rant. I'm going down a rabbit hole. I've seen in recent weeks several interviews with established professional musicians who say they get intimidated by these Instagram guitarists, right? You see some 14-year-old kid who just shreds, unbelievable, just can play things. And here guys that have worked at it for 40 and 50 years are like, how do they do that? Right? It's crazy. And it's only going to get worse or better, depending on how you look at it. Okay, I do want to respond to Michelle, who's joining us on X. She has a very interesting question. Let's close this episode out with this question. She says, non sequitur. Would you like to see Pete Townshend play with a metal band, and which one? Now, speaking of Pete Townshend, I just saw an article here in the last few days. He went out and bought one of those pointy heavy metal guitars, like a Charvel Jackson guitar, like you'd see the hair bands play in the 80s. And he said, I immediately could play 3 times faster. So maybe Pete's thinking about this. What metal band would I like to see him play with? Now, this is not a metal band, Michelle. But you know who I would love to see Pete Townshend play with? I would love to see Pete Townshend play with Cheap Trick. Cheap Trick is not a metal band, but one of their producers, I think it was Tom Werman, who said, Cheap Trick always wanted to be the Beatles, but I always thought they were more like the Who. So imagine Pete Townshend's big power chords with a vocalist like Robin Zander. That would be pretty awesome. You know who else Pete Townshend would be cool playing with? AC/DC. I could see that. Now I've got to think about that, Michelle. Thank you. A lot to ponder, a lot to think about today. This was an update with a lot of deep thinking. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, you can follow us on X, YouTube, Facebook. We are on the Instagram, so we're one of the cool kids now. You can follow us there as well. And as always, we'll do it again tomorrow. Live long and prosper. Take care and bye-bye.